All right? How you getting on? Are you well? Are you well? And she will be loved. And she will. I wish I knew how to stop singing that. I wish I had Adam Levine here and I'd grab him by his tight little denim lapels and I'd say, I wish I knew how to stop singing you. We've Tony Cantwell here from the Spotlight Stage School. He's only 5. What are you going to sing for us, Tony? I'm going to sing a little bit of Maroon 5. Here we go. And she will be loved. Not a dry eye in a house if I was on that show. I'm jealous. Terry pointed out that I have conflicting emotions between being proud of the kids as a father and being a young speech and drama kid myself and jealous of the kids. And I can't, and I tell you, it kind of fucked up. I kind of fucked up the whole watching. I'm never going to swear again, by the way. I'm not swearing. Never going to swear. It kind of messed up the whole viewing of the. I don't know what funk I was in. I was flip flopping between beaming pride of the children and just being so jealous of the attention that they were getting. And I it's a difficult Venn diagram to be of being spoiled brat and proud father. But I have to ask this, right? Bloody Spotlight Stage School. How did they get in? Whose palm was greased? Whose greasy Montrose fucking claw was greased with shekels to get the Spotlight Stage School in there every year? What about the elite stage schools like the Bernie Delaney Speech and Drama School? Hello? With popular Merino alums like me, the Deep River Rock fella from the ads, Claire Balding, influencer to the stars that she is, my cousin Omar, you know what I mean? The elite. You know, a serious alum. There should be a Wikipedia solely based around that. It's like the Harvard Lampoon is Bernie Delaney's Speech and Drama School, where we were the worst pupils. Oh my God, I just wanted to meet girls. I didn't want to get into the acting. I just wanted to meet girls. Anyway, look, and as well, what about the Maureen Gilligan School of Speech and Drama with her son Brian Gilligan, who went off to international fame by becoming a West End star in Once. West End musical theatre performer Brian Gilligan, who you might have seen recently as the Cheez-Its man. He's the fella trapped in the mousetrap. He's got his leg up beside his head. Very flexible. He's now the mascot for Cheez-Its. But anyway, no, come here to me. Whose greasy palm was shackled at Montrose to get the Spotlight Stage School in there? That's what I want to know. But you know what? I don't know if I even enjoyed it. I don't know if I had a good time. And I kind of don't like my responsibility of being. No, I do. Look, of course, I'm very lucky that we're the third year in a row to be reviewing the Late Late Toy Show, you know, and on my 100th episode. And look, I'm not making a big deal about it, guys. Please don't bring it up. Oh my God, I want to forget about it. I'm sold. I'm just going to be like one of, you know, those people who like just never bring up their birthday. You know, those people who just make birthdays disappear somehow. Every year, you always forget it's their birthday. They seem to just get Harry Potter's invisibility green screen cloak and they just throw it over the entire month. And you're like, it's sometime in August. When is it? Like, and they don't bring it up. And you're like, oh, is it today? And then you find out it was 2 days ago. And then everyone in the WhatsApp group is like, oh, sorry about that. Oh, yeah. They don't talk about it. Like, oh, I don't want to make a big deal. Yet you're happy enough for us to organise something for you. You're happy enough to be included in the happy birthday when someone else who actually organised their birthday comes along. Let me tell you this. You think you're being cool? It is fucking lame not to bring up your birthday, pal. And I'll tell you this. If I see you on your birthday and you don't tell me it's your birthday, and I have to go home and then find out it was your birthday and feel bad about it, there's a fucking place in hell for people who are too cool to tell you it's their birthday on their birthday. Texting someone it's their birthday and you're being real short with them. You're like, here, can you get that thing back to me? And you find out later it was their birthday. You're like, oh! But I'm over that. I'm over feeling bad about it. You know who you are. You think I'm a fucking sham for making a big song and dance about my birthday? For telling people months in advance? When I tell people in June they need to clear October because we're having my birthday celebrations on these days, right? I had 3 happy birthdays this year, right? 3 happy birthday songs. I was getting PTSD from people just coming out of restaurants, coming out of the kitchen. I kept thinking there was going to be a cake with a candle on it every time. I was getting so many. It was amazing, right? You think that's lame? Tell you what's lame, not telling people, because you're creating, not only are you've stolen the magic of a happy birthday wish from everyone, and you've made everyone feel bad. You're a sham, pal. Honestly. Thinking I'm the attention seeker. Like, seeing people on, that's the last thing I'm going to say, but you see someone on their birthday, and then you had a conversation, you was kind of like casual, you weren't very nice to them, but it was fine, and as you're walking away, they're looking at you thinking, you are going to feel so fucking bad when you find out it's my birthday. And don't lie and say that that's not going through your head. People who hang out with people on their birthday and don't tell people it's their birthday. Don't even act like that's not going through your head. Of course it is. You're milking this fucking attention. You're milking sympathy. Look, hot take, right? And I think I stand by this. I'm going to say something extreme here, right? Seeing people on your birthday and not telling them it's your birthday is the same as seeing people when you got COVID and not telling them you got COVID, right? It's the exact same. It's going to get the exact same response the next day when people find out. Like, what? But I just saw... And you knew it was your birthday and you didn't tell anyone. And you knew it was your birthday. I can't... The lack of responsibility. I can't believe this. I can't believe what I'm hearing. It's the exact same. Imho. Come at me. But anyway, look, let's talk about what we're talking about today, which is a scathing review of the Late Late Toy Show. But before we get on to that, I would like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this week's podcast. In fact, this sponsor has been now sponsoring this podcast for a 1 calendar year. It is the Dubliner Irish Whiskey. I would like to thank them. They are a fine brand. They are a fine bunch of people, and they make a fine-ass whiskey. A faw, if you want to spell it out. And you know what? A lot of people have said, I would love to wet my whistle, but I want some cheaper tipple, they've been saying. Even though it's a very affordable, accessible whiskey, right? Not like big snobbery whiskey that you get up on the Orkney Islands of people going around with their monocles, right? With peat. Not Pete McGann, but, you know, like Bogland flavoured whiskey. Do you like this? This was someone asked me in an Edinburgh bar. Do you like the burning? Do you like the taste of muck? He asked me, right? No. But I was being brave and I said yes, and it was awful, right? So get away from the snobbery. Go to more accessibly distilled whiskey with the Dubliner. But look, they got a promo code for you. That's what I'm saying. A bit of a cheaper tipple to wet your whistle. If you go onto the DLD.com and you type in this radical coupon code, right? This is not the sort of one. This is not your granny's on Slack coupon code, right? Because it's a bit naughty. That's how fucking rock and roll. Honestly, you want to go into the distillery. It's like Mad Magazine. People wearing lampshades on their head doing mad shit, right? So this is their coupon code. It's fucking raw, man. Fucking raw. My famous catchphrase that I completely mean, all my catchphrase stole. Well, in this case, from Gordon Ramsay. Type in fucking raw, you can get 10% off all the whiskies on the DLD.com, and that includes the bourbon cask, an Irish whiskey with a hint of the Wow Wow West, like myself. The honeycomb liqueur, it's like drinking a crunchy. It's a fantastic after dinner drink. You know the way you're sitting around at Christmas and you're like, what we do now? Does anyone want an Irish coffee? Get one of those little honeycomb liqueur, and as per Mark Jago's recommendations, get one of those little pods, make yourself a coffee, or even just a little whatever, a cafetiere with one of those. It's the most delicious Irish coffee you'll have. And as well as that, they have that old-fashioned, right, for the madman in your life. And I mean that in terms of like Don Draper style. Someone who likes their cocktails. This is not a cocktail kit. It is the whiskey, and it has all the spice blend that you would expect from an old-fashioned. It's delish. I gave it to my a pal of mine who was a tradesman, and he liked it. And that's it. So go to the DLD.com, type in that code, and you can get some money off for the month of December. It's fucking raw. 10% off the DLD.com. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk the toy show on today's Tony Cantwell Shit Show. It's Tony Cantwell Shit Show. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff there from me singing the old theme song there. If that's your first time hearing the theme song, yes, that is me singing it. You know? Although I really should add a couple of sleigh bells in there for December, you know. Give it a nice little Christmas jingly jangle, you know. Or at least, you know, I probably won't end up doing that. But at least let me add that idea to the pile of ideas that I'm never going to carry out, but I'm still going to kick the shit out of myself for not doing. Let me just add it to that pile. But anyway, look, we're not talking about that right now. You're here for the toy show, so let me get into it. But do you know what? I was going to say this at the end, but I'm going to say it up top because I think it's going to frame everything else that comes after. Okay, I didn't have a good time watching this toy show. And not in the same way that you always have it where you're like, oh shit, it's actually 2 hours. It's actually getting on a bit. All right, what's the crack when you not wrap this up? You know, especially if you're watching it on the player. More on that in a second. I didn't have a good time watching this because it kind of showed where the current state of RTE is, right? Oh my God. And there's specific people I think that are maybe fantastic at their job. But I thought, let me just put it this way, right? Okay, let me put it this way. The toy show in 2020 was the most broadcast television program that year and got more numbers than it's ever gotten in the history of the show. And given the fact that this is a show that is the biggest show of the year for Irish TV, that would kind of position it as one of the biggest television broadcasts in the history of the Irish state, right? Last year. So this show of 2021 is the sequel to the biggest broadcast television event in the history in an era where television is dying, right? To be getting MASH finale numbers, right? To be getting, per capita, Super Bowl numbers, Friends finale numbers, even though MASH was probably the biggest at moon landing numbers, right? In an era where people don't even turn on their TV and they watch everything on a laptop, right? That's the scale of which the viewers, people are watching it from all over the world. Even Tubbs is saying, look, you might have to be an Irish citizen to get this, but he's pointing at the fact that everyone is watching it from all over the world. They probably have an Irish person next to them explaining that, it's charming and it doesn't always go according to plan. But I'm actually kind of done. I'm done with that. I'm actually kind of done with that. I'm done with the charming ineptitude of this show. And I'm so sorry. But it's also the same element of like, look, I have no confidence. I'm going to say this. I don't have confidence in RTE's handling of the scale, the viewership scale of the toy show. And like, that's not to say that I want like a halftime show with fucking will.i.am or Fergie or anything like that. I'm talking about making sure that the toys have fucking batteries in them, that they're ready to go. And anything that can be done and salvaged and made sure that it's going to go according to plan, be air fucking tight, right? And the kids can go off and let Tubbs have the confidence that the rest of the show is going to go according to plan. The musical numbers are going to go well because I'm slagging them off, but the Spotlight kids, to be fair to them, are seasoned professionals at this stage, right? That the toys are going to work. That the camera angles are going to point at the fucking toys at the right time, right? And that, if the kid then wants to drop something or wants to say something outlandish or spill a bit of hot gossip about their fucking parent, about them being hungover or something funny like that, then they can shine, right? It's like, kids say the funniest things or, that even School Around the Corner, on Ireland, on Irish TV and radio. Just that everything else is airtight, that they know I can bring the kid out, they're going to talk about X, Y, and Z or whatever. But like, I'm totally happy with the kids going off the rails, right? It's what you expect, and I think it's fine for kids just to have a bit of fun on the show. But everything else apart from the kids has only had a year to get ready. Has had a year. When they do the Late Late Show, they don't know who the guests are going to be all year. Maybe they do. But I'd assume they don't know for every single week who the guests are going to be, who the musical guests are going to be, what the current affairs topics they certainly don't know are going to be, what they're going to be talking about. They know every single fucking year that on the last Friday of November, there is going to be a toy show. And on the toy show is going to be the most amount of people who've watched anything. People dusting off their fucking TVs. People logging in from around the world to watch. And I don't think it is treated with that level of respect for people's time. And I'm sorry. This is probably so boring. I'm sorry, but I honestly do not have the confidence in RTE's handling of such a monumental task. I feel like there's a couple of people who are making decisions that are like, oh, it's fine, that's grand, that joke is passable. Because honestly, this show had a real whiff of any joke goes in, we need time to fill, rather than we have 10 hours of content that we've been carefully curating over the last year because we knew this day was coming where everyone was going to watch the biggest show of the year and we had to cut it down to 2 hours. But that is obviously not what they were doing. And if it is, then I'm extra terrified. I know you're thinking, get in your lane, fucking Instagram comedian, right? I know that. But as someone who's written 3 hours of material in the last, 4 years, right? Some of it good, some of it a bit better, and I think and then most recently a bit better. I've gone through a process of the first time it was like, all right, I need to fill an hour, so every idea is going in, even the ones that aren't fully developed, right? And those shows went okay, but they weren't particularly that funny, right? Then the shows where it's like, okay, well, I have the space for 10 bits, and I have an idea for 15. Me even getting to be selective about those 15 and picking it meant that those 10 were better. It was 10 better bits than the previous time because I got to be selective and the bad bits didn't fit in, right? And now I find myself, and only in the last year or two, writing bits and actually running it by people, which is what you should do, and say, do you think people would find this funny? And if people say yes, I put it in. If people say no, I'm not precious about it and I drop it. And I especially don't think there's had to be fucking precious with these bits. And I don't think, do you think of the 16 bits that were in this show, right? Including, putting a hand up an ostrich, which I like. I think they could have done something better with it. The fucking teddy bear mood board thing that they had, of all the bits, did everyone look at those bits and think, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant? And if they didn't, then it's disrespectful, genuinely, I think this, to the 1.5 million people who are expected to watch this. Because this isn't fucking ineptitude of like a Christmas cracker where like you read the Christmas cracker joke and everyone can get in on the joke that it's bad. I don't think that's good enough. I think there needs to be a fucking Roy Keane producer in there saying you lads are high-fiving over a fucking draw. And I think that there's enough time in a year of a show that you know is coming next year that you can figure that out. And I think, and I'm not talking about more budget, and I don't think you need more budget for the guests. I think there was even a missed opportunity. There's a kid who fucking was obsessed with DJs. There was no DJ there for him. There was a kid who was obsessed with fashion. There was no fashion there for him. You don't know about culture. You do not know. You didn't bring on fucking Simone Rocha for the kid, for, the fashion designer. Say she's going to go on Zoom with her and tell her how to cut fabrics. You didn't get on to, the DJ kid and say, even fucking, Nile or Nine, Marcus O'Leary. He'll show you how to, Donald Sharpson. People would be like, look, I'm going to show you how to mix some tracks. They didn't even they didn't do that. These people would definitely get on that show and do it, but they don't know about that. My point is, it's not about throwing money at the problem, right? It's about taking the time, which is the one definite every single year, to write the bits, to plan. There's it's not like there's some hot trendy toy that's only going to be relevant, that's going to make the whole show obsolete by November. Taking the time, write the show. And some people do use that time well. I think the researchers do phenomenal work. I think the set designers do amazing work. I think anyone who has any involvement with some of the kids in there, to get them in to do that on the day is genius. But I think there needs to be someone else writing those bits in between, coming up with the games for the kids. And there needs to be 100 ideas on the fucking desk at D Forbes, and then needs to be taken off the desk at D Forbes and given to a fucking comedian who needs to pick the best ideas. But I think I honestly, I just do not have the confidence. I don't have the confidence in them looking after the Eurovision. I do not have the confidence that they're going to pick the right act for the Eurovision. I haven't thought that. Like, Leslie Roy is a phenomenal singer, but she's not at Other Voices. She's not what, she's going to be going on tour with Brian McFadden, but I wouldn't want fucking Brian McFadden going out there for us. I don't want Nicky Byrne going out there for us. There's the biggest revolution of fucking trad. You see how people are marching on the streets in Ireland. People are marching on the streets to protect the fucking cobblestone. And there's amazing new age trad that's being played right now. And there's no interest whatsoever to put that front and center. This isn't about fucking winning the Eurovision. It's about saying, hey, the European stage, the world stage, including fucking Australia and Israel, this is the music that we're doing. And Jimmy, I'm choking on my own rage here. This is the music that we're playing in Ireland now, if you want to come see us. It's a perfect tourism opportunity. That Ukrainian song that they had this year was the most fucking ridiculously badass knife, like the fucking Swedish band. I now think of Ukraine different. I now think of, I actually, to be honest, think of Israel different because of the tune that they had. It's a perfect opportunity to reshape how you. But I don't trust the competency of that. I do not think that they're putting their best foot forward. I don't think they know what people like. I don't know if they are trying to excel. I think they're people who are in jobs for life who are quite frankly happy with doing grand. In an era when TV is not being watched anymore, and you are lucky enough to get 1.5 million people, and you just think passable is good enough. I don't. And again, to clarify, I'm not having to go with the kids. I'm not having to go with the researchers who find the kids, who find these families, who make their dreams come true. I'm not having to go at the set designers or the researchers or the people who are forced to fucking drive out to somewhere to pick up a treadmill for one single bit in Hakuna Matata. I'm not having to go with the Spotlight kids. I'm having to go at the senior decision that some of the bits, and again, I'm realizing now from we talked too grand about this, and I'm really just talking about some of the bits, which I'll talk about a bit more detail now, that some of the bits just should have had another pass. And that they're not great. But look, let's get into it here. It starts with a darling young girl with lovely dreads waking up during the nighttime. Is she a vampire? This is all the information we have, that she sleeps during the day. She sleeps all day and drinks all night. She might be a vampire or a corona. It hasn't fully been disclosed yet. She puts on a crown fit for a Queen of Pride Rock, one of those kind of Broadway Lion King crowns. This is the first little tidbit that this whole show is going to be Lion King themed. She goes out into the courtyard. It's Ringsend. It's a block of flats. The kids are having a banter out there. It's so nice to see a bit of community spirit amongst the flats. The only thing that takes me out of it is these kids, who are phenomenal actors, by the way, from the Spotlight Stage School, are all, with the greatest respect to them, culchies. And they're all from Calvin and Carlo. And they, it really took me out of the whole Ringsend vibe, Having said that, maybe they're part of this magical tunnel that Tubbs walks out of. Tubbs walks out from behind a lamppost. Yes, he is a skinny guy, but this skinny? It makes no sense. He's also carrying with him a big, long ladder. And he's wearing like a cockney. He's dressed as a magic cockney. So potentially they have also come from this magic gateway from Cavan to Ringsend. It's not entirely clear. And look, the kids are good actors, but the script... This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And I'm not going to get as heated as I did up top because I don't have it in me. But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? There's a script here where the kids have to talk at the top of the show. And they're good actors, right? And they're saying stuff like, I'm a pirate. And why do pirates say "ar"? Great question. Kids always ask that all the time. Because it's a Cornish inflection. It's not actually Irish. The first guy who played a pirate was actually Cornish. Anyway, but I wasn't there to tell them that. And then one of them is like, all right, I'm going to be Peter Pan, you be Captain Hook. As if these kids know who the fuck those two people are, with the greatest respect. I would say that is not even in their reference wheelhouse. It's like, it's more, I'm going to be Roblox and you be Squid Game. That's what they're talking about now. They don't have a fucking clue who Peter Pan is. Do you think they're watching the hand-drawn Disney Plus animation? Do you think they're watching Hook by Steven Spielberg with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman? Do you think they're watching Hugh Jackman's Pan, which was famously critically panned? I doubt it very much so. I bet they saw that in the script. They were like, who the fuck is that guy? But aside from that, they're talking about what movie characters they want to be. And one kid says, this is what I'm talking about. This is dialogue that is not chuffa. Chuffa is a screenwriting term that is considered background dialogue. Say if you're in a cafe and the focus is on not the people having the coffee, but maybe someone's robbing the till and the camera is on the person robbing the till, but you hear people talking in the background and they might be like, Peyton Manning's right arm's like a rocket. He keeps going for those Hail Marys, some kind of NFL talk that you're not really meant to really listen to. That would be considered chuffa. A lot of the time it isn't even featured in a screenplay. It's thought of on the day. But this is focused, front and center. What these kids are saying is rehearsed, it's planned, and this is the line of dialogue they say. And the greatest respect to the kids, right? They're great actors, but this is the dialogue that I'm saying has the eyes of 1.5 to 1.7 million people. One kid says, all right, I'm going to be a zombie. And the kids go, there's no zombies in movies. Which I don't know what that fucking means, other than maybe the kid who says that is the most sheltered, unfortunate little soul who's never seen even Zombieland. If you're 10, come on, show the kids Zombieland. It's not even that bad. It's hyper-violent, but it's cartoony. It's like Tom and Jerry with zombies. Show them Zombieland, for God's sake. When I was 8, I was watching Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Me and my brother were being babysat by my granddad. One time we were watching Terminator 2, and it was the bit where he's ripping off his arm in front of Dyson, Miles Dyson, and the kids are screaming because he's literally tearing off the skin off his own hand. And my granddad was like, are you sure you should be watching this? And this was like the 60th time we'd seen Judgment Day. And we laughed our asses off at the poor man. We like, granddad, for God, Jesus Christ. We laughed at him. So don't be so sheltered with your kids. But anyway, the kid says, I'm not going to be Peter Pan, I'm going to be a zombie. There's no zombies in movies, says someone. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's teeing up a joke. Here's the joke. Then he says, yes, there are. Lady and the Tramp had them. And then everyone says in unison, which means it's rehearsed, they're dogs. I'm a zombie. There's no zombies in movies. Lady and the Tramp had one. They're dogs. That held the focus of close to 2 million people so that we could deliver that joke. Did anyone suggest that there should be another joke? Did anyone say, why don't we have another go? Anyway, maybe the kid is maybe they're all insane. But if I was sitting there and my boy was watching Lady and the Tramp and he goes, there's a zombie, I'd be like, oh no, he's ruined. He's broken. He smells toast and can't feel his arms. I have to call the doctor. There's something wrong with my boy. But anyway, when one kid says she wants to be in The Lion King, and the kids start up, and all the animals are coming out. There's meerkats coming out of a fucking telecom iron box. There's a girl who looks like a kind of dog. She's having a great time though. Even though whatever the fuck she is, maybe a kind of a rat thing. She's having a good time. Giraffe lads start coming out who were clearly told, these lads are in these giraffe costumes, they were clearly told to slow down. You know, sometimes you can tell that there was a director who was like, okay, now go much slower than you think is humanly possible, because they are walking so slow. But to be fair, they are walking at the speed of giraffes. But you know, sometimes you might hear like a voiceover by a kid where they're like, Avonmore is super healthy. Something like that, you know? And you can tell that that was the 18th take. And the director was like, just say super, like your fucking life, like your ma's about to be shot if you don't say it. Super healthy. You know, sometimes you can hear that. It's almost like these kids were like, walk so fucking slow that you feel stupid. And I'm very jealous of their giraffe costumes. They look pretty badass. Then Tubbs is there with the ladder, and all he's done the whole time, he's been walking around in a Mac, in a trench coat. He's been like, shh, with a ladder down the flats. Let me tell you, I'm not even from the flats, but if you were walking around Merino with a ladder and a trench coat telling people to shh, you know, be some serious eyes on you, and I tell you, you wouldn't be... MD3, the gangs would be after you to shut you down straight away if you were pulling that sort of shit in Merino, let alone Ringsend. But anyway, so Tubbs doesn't do anything with the ladder. He basically shows up at a house that already has decorations on it, puts a ladder next to it, and then turns on the lights without even going upstairs. But what he does do is open the door for this girl. The girl walks through to her gaff. You know, all the animals can disappear. That's the whole thing. And it was all a dream. And then Tubbs is like, but why don't you go into your gaff now that I have a ladder leaning against it that I didn't do anything with the ladder? And dreams come true as she enters Montrose Studio 4. And they're all here, the animals. And Tubbs comes out, it's been said 1,000 times. Right, this is not an original take. Comes out with a big fucking pair of bollocks on his knees, a pair of brown bollocks. And let me tell you this, it's not confusing. You don't confuse the shape of bollocks. Yes, you might be like, oh, that's a bit phallic, looks a bit like a Mickey. And you might be able to be like, oh, don't be so dirty, the Apollo rocket is not a Mickey. Similarly, you might be like, oh, doesn't that look a bit like a fanny? And he'd be like, no, that's just a jellyfish, or it's just an orchid, or whatever. You know, it can be left open to interpretation, but there is nothing other than bollocks that look like bollocks. And his legs are bollocks. As you can tell, I love saying the word bollocks. I used to love playing it. Do you ever play that game in school? You say bollocks. And the whole thing is that you have to be like, say it louder than the last person said it. Bollocks. You know, we do it in student teacher would be in. And it's mad just how, like, you know, like the Beatles and the whole, you know, 10,000 hours of genius. Just the amount of hours spent in class. The fact that you can read the ebbs and flow of sound to know exactly when the opportune time is to shout bollocks at the top of your voice and not let a student teacher know, but let everyone else hear. It is, honestly, it is alchemy of sound. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So then, yeah, Tubbs, to be fair, was coming out with a big pair of bollocks on his knees. Michael Fry called him Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend, who obviously got the vaccine. He's got a set of pipes on him. And you know what? Why not? I like Tubbs. I think he is a morally good person. I think he wants to find the truth and the best in people and represent that. I think he's the best host the Late Late I've ever had. And you know what? He's coming out, he's singing, he's got a set of pipes on him, and why not? And you know what? If you were watching him singing and you were like, oh, this is a feeling I don't like, this is cringe, that is purely, and I need you to notice this about you, right? That is your own insecurity about hearing someone else attempt to do something that you don't like, all right? You need to notice that feeling, recognize it, vilify it, and name it so that you always know when that is pointing you in the wrong direction. Do you know what I mean? If you ever get that feeling being, oh, this is a bit cringe because he's doing something that maybe I would like to do, maybe, but I'd never want to get it wrong, know that is the fear pointing you in that direction. That's where you need to go. Or maybe you just actually just don't like his singing. Either way, it's fine. But be sure to vilify the voice in your head. Anyway, Tubbs is singing. He's dancing with a big old pair of bollocks on his knees. And the giraffes are coming out. This is the bit. They jump on a treadmill for the whole Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata. What's a motto? What's a motto with you? And all I could think of is, what was the poor researcher that had to drive to their fucking dad's gaff to pick up that treadmill? Because let me tell you, in film and TV, you think it's all like a big truck shows up and everything's on the back and they picked it all out from a catalogue. If they need something for the TV that they're only going to use once, they're sending an email out to everyone in RTE saying, does anyone have a treadmill? And there's probably some young researchers like, my dad has one out in Monasterevin. All right, great, can you get that in tomorrow? And they're driving out, they're missing pints with the lads because they have to go out to their fucking dad's gaff in Monasterevin. Then they realise that their Nissan Micra's too small for the treadmill. They have to borrow their dad's fucking high ace, and then they have to get the van back, and it's a big kerfuffle for one single bit. And that, to be fair, is the level of attention to detail that I expect across the whole show. Someone going out of their way to get a treadmill for one walking scene when they could have just done it on the spot, but it would have looked better with the treadmill, is the exact same attitude for all the bits. And there's the inconsistencies. But we'll talk about that more later on. Then we get on to the audience, and the audience, look, they do look grim. It looks grim. They're dressed up like animals in the Serengeti. Look, they have their face masks on. I understand they have to wear face masks. But there's gaps between the audiences, which I understand they might have to do that as well. Especially now, especially with Omicron showing up and everything. They might just want to be doing that. They might be playing it safe. But one of the stalls doesn't have gaps. One stall does. And in between the one where they do have gaps, they have these kind of Flintstone fucking rocks. They have mini Pride rocks between everyone. And it honestly looks like they've just thrown a tarp over the seats. And it's like some amateur, Dublin Fringe show, which is maybe why the first 20 minutes actually feels like a fucking Dublin Fringe show. You can't seem to get a gauge in the audience. I don't know why they didn't put cardboard cutouts on that spot. I don't know why between the gaps, I don't know why they didn't put stuffed animals there, And also, they are wearing masks. I understand that. But if someone wasn't there on the day to think, right, is there any restriction in the fact that they're wearing masks? Is that going to change anything this year? For example, will it hinder maybe their performance as an audience? I'm sorry, I don't mean to begin it. They have masks. They should have been mic'd up, right? And I said this last year, and I'll say it again this year. The Late Late Toy Show needs to have a different type of audience. Sure, it has an audience who are going to hoot and holler for kids coming out and trying stuff and all that, but there needs to be someone behind the camera, like they do with Anton Deck for I'm a Celebrity, an absolute sycophant behind the camera who laughs at everything that Tubbs does. Everything that Tubbs does so he can laugh back. In the same way Anton Deck at every single joke lands because someone laughs at it and it looks like they're fucking batting 100, even though they're not. And most of the jokes aren't great. Tubbs needs someone behind the camera, and you can't even hear these guys. That's not even my last thing I'm going to say about this audience, because I had some serious issues with them, but we'll talk about that more in a second. So they finish Hakuna Matata. The Spotlight kids are just fucking giving all face. There's one kid who's dressed up like Zazu, who is literally just owning the whole stage. Arms out, hero pose, big smile. She's like, fucking look at me, I'm a big old bird. Then they show the set, which, to be fair, 75% of it looks amazing, right? There's an amazing waterfall. He starts singing Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. The audience is on a fucking delay. Still think they're on Zoom. You can't hear a fucking peep out of them. They don't respond to it. But the rest of the set looks good. There's a nice little Rafiki nook where it looks like it's treehouse where they're going to read books. The effects on the waterfall and the stage and the kind of bridge above, the floor is giving me serious manic energy. I can't get comfortable. There's nothing Christmassy about it. The rest, you can I can get going the Lion King, but the stage doesn't feel cozy. It doesn't feel Christmassy. It doesn't feel like, let's just stay here, have a nice conversation. And I think I'm not going to blame the floor for setting off the two manic kids in the first segment, but it was making us at home feel a bit uneasy. He does a bit. Now, this is what I'm talking about, right? He plays with a Lego typewriter, right? Now, I don't think a Lego typewriter came out, last month. Maybe it did. But I'm sure there's a toy that maybe came out in February that you could have been like, oh, do you know what? We're going to use that toy because it works for the bit. So he sits at this thing and he's like, see this Lego typewriter? And he starts typing away at it, right? And then he's overdubbed him saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? From The Shining. It's cute. He's doing a cool bit. It's for the parents. The rest of the kids aren't really know what's going on. Even though he has a kind of a pipe full of bubbles that he's blowing that he immediately gives up on because they're not getting enough bubbles. He throws it. It's fairly manic, but whatever. So he's typing away this thing. They obviously pre-recorded this all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. And the audience are watching it. And they're like, huh. And then it just keeps going. And then there's no... And look, the audience are crap, right? The audience are crap. I'm sorry. Hang on. I need to get... Okay. No, because I'm criticizing this. I'll be positive on other stuff, right? The audience aren't giving him anything, right? To be fair to the audience, there's not a clear point in which they're supposed to laugh because the bit has been played. I don't know why, if he's doing a shining bit on a Lego typewriter, there wasn't a Lego door for him to crash through and say, here's Tuberty. Here's Johnny. He should have had a bit. And then at least you can get the tension relief. The audience just don't know where to laugh. Having said that, the audience have to go above and beyond. If there's not a clear area for them to laugh, but they know there should have been a laugh and they missed it, they have to replace it with a woo! Like you do. As an audience, you are representing the very same 1.5 to 1.7 million people who are looking at every single thing that you're getting, being jealous of. You are not there just to be like, all right, I'm in the audience, entertain me now, I'm so fucking privileged. You represent everyone cheering at home, and they let the side down big time. And he's there typing away like a madman. No one's giving him even a single woo. Now, again, as I said, he should have had another pass. There should have been an opportunity for him to smash through a Lego door and do a proper shining thing. He should have chased a kid around with a Lego axe. Maybe. But at least you would have known where to laugh, Then it's followed up with... it's followed up with this thing where he's saying, all right, we've all had a bit of a bad time this year, so we all have a bad mood. And so these bears are here to represent the various moods. And like at first you think, oh, well, surely... it's one toy, and the bear's going to like change colors, might have like LEDs, I mean, that's not even impressive technology for 2021, the idea that the bear might change color, but it doesn't. He's got 7 bears lined up, and he's going to pick one up one by one and say what the color represents to the emotion. I don't even know if that's what the bears are for. He doesn't name the bears. The bears don't have sounds. They don't have any kind of... there's no moving parts to it. It's a stuffed bear. He picks up a yellow one and he goes, you could be happy. And then Pharrell's Happy plays and he kind of nods along, and the audience obviously are not clear that this is a joke because it's not a joke. So they're just sitting there kind of like, okay. Well, like... waiting for the next one. Okay, great. And then he picks up like a blue one, starts playing Adele. You could be sad, and plays Adele's, Go Easy on Me. And he's like, moving his head slowly, and people are like, what? He's still going. He moves on to a red one. It plays an angry song. He moves on to a green one. It plays a scaredy song. And like, it's complete and utter clang-a-lang, clang-a-lang-a-lang, a-lang-a-lang-a-lang. And there's no like... And this is what I'm talking about, right? I don't know whose decision it was to say in between the first musical number and the first kid, you're going to have Tubbs, whatever. Yes, he's doing the tour of the stage. He's doing his animal puns, which no one's laughing at, by the way. I even had written there, fucking laugh at his puns, for God's sake, you cadavers. You're not a crowd. You're a crowdavers. Look, it takes a lot of fucking... You need to step up. Know that even though you're in the mask, and even though this isn't be the ideal laughing environment, you can't just be a coward and sit there and be performed to. You are part of this whole... I don't know why I'm getting so fucking wound up with this. Anyway, the bears bit. I don't know who had the idea to go from him doing animal puns, which no one laughed at, and that was not his fault. That's the audience's fault. To this fucking... this all work no play makes Jack a dull boy, which is no clear point where you're supposed to laugh, to this tour of 7 different emotions through stuffed bears, some of which have emojis on their fucking feet. Emojis. Do you think kids are into emojis these days? There's a green one that has like fucking like getting sick faced emoji, and it's like, am I in the fucking Mr. Price? Have I just gone to Mr. Price in 2006 that this is being broadcast? The toys alone. And yet the bit is, it's different emotions. I can't believe someone said, we'll do the typewriter bit, and then we'll do the bears bit, after the big numbers. So that's you had your Smells Like Teen Spirit with Hakuna Matata, and then we're going to blow the doors off you here, settle you in, get you excited with a bit of In Bloom, right? I'm using the Nevermind Nirvana track list here, but that's what the high fidelity rule is, right? You start with a good song, and then you pick it up, and then you ease it off. So you're hoping to ease it off with a kid. To think that this is going to be, whoever was like, all right, there's all your Bears, Tubbs. Okay, great. Now, what do I do with the Bears? Oh, well, you kind of pick them up and we'll play the music correlating to the Bears' emotion. Okay, cool. Why? Because it's, I dare you to say funny. I dare you. Look me in the eyes. Tell me that's funny. And it's not like, I just don't think it's good enough. And I'm not willing just to let that pass as, oh, clanger. Oh, and a little clanger. Maybe it's just my mood I'm in. I'm a little bit of a Scrooge. I was very anxious over the weekend. I don't know what started it. But anyway, then he has this ostrich bit. And this should be great. It's as him putting his hand up an ostrich for toys. It's proper Ace Ventura shit. The ostrich is like looking down at first. And from what I understand, now, the gag doesn't pay off. The timing's not good, all right? The first two gags didn't have beats. This has a beat, and it's fucked, right? He doesn't get it right. The whole thing is he's going to put his hand up this ostrich's arse to get a toy. And actually, to be fair, the audience are like, ooh, because that's clear. Like, there's an objective and there's a barrier. The objective is he needs to get the toy out of the ostrich's arse. The barrier is he's got a career and he can't be seen putting his hand up ostrich's arses. But it's funny because everyone knows what he's going to do and it's a bit of a kind of risque. It's weirdly a risque kind of, ooh. And he's like, oh, come on, grow up. As in like, I'm not going to fuck the ostrich, guys. Come on. I'm not allowed. Even no matter how good it looks. Anyway, he puts his hand tentatively, unfortunately. He doesn't like, what he should have done is put the hand in, grab the thing, look like he's having a bit of trouble, and then the ostrich's head would pop up being like, what the fuck are you doing? And kids would have laughed their asses off at that. I would have laughed my ass off. But what happens is he puts his hand in, kind of puts it in, then the ostrich kind of, is this where he's actually putting his hand actually in? And it kind of pops up awkwardly halfway up, and then it goes all the way up. It's not timed well. The expression on the ostrich is great, but it's not timed well. And again, some researcher had to drive all the way out to fucking Photo Wildlife to get this ostrich in the back of their dad's Kia Soul and then bring this place. And it's just a missed opportunity. It's just a missed opportunity. And I don't know why they didn't go back to the ostrich. If it was me, what I had is he would have been like, all right, we have to go get the present in the ostrich. He goes in the first time, the head moves up a little bit. Oh, let's really not upset the ostrich, and then we'll leave it. We'll go back. Then put his hand in. Then the ostrich head comes up again. And then eventually, for the third time, third beat, maybe even 40 minutes into the show, an hour and a half into the show, the ostrich's head will go fully whack up and it'll go rah, 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 and I know it's a puppet or it sprays water or something. Pay off, rather than just puts the hand in and this whole prop is just spent. And that's done and they never go in again. However, what he reveals from the arse of the ostrich, is this any good, is a twerking toy. And I was really into this thing. I said to Terry, this is fucking brilliant. I said, this is excellent. Look how it moves realistically. It kind of does that kind of like shake the hand over the head kind of boogie that Christina Aguilera does in Dirty, not the twerk, that happens later, but it has it looks, see, I'm just fascinated, I grew up on those dogs that were like, arp, 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 and then they do a backflip and you're like, all right, well, that's like two gears moving away in that. It's not exactly like, I've still found it impressive because it was moving, but this level of like gears and cogs, like a fucking professor invented this ass shaking monkey, toy, and I was very impressed. So then he says something about how he was really into this toy, and he said he'd love to get everyone for one for everyone, but Santa's not having. He seems just distracted. And he starts talking about sign language. It happens very quick. He seems to just be very distracted. He seems a little bit I'm blaming the floor. The floor is just making everyone insane. Then out comes the first chant. You're like, all right, here we go. This is what we're here for. So we hear like a Batman theme song, and like na 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 na, and in comes Alana. I was going to say dressed as Batgirl, but she's actually dressed as Batman. Maybe she identifies as Batman, but she is a girl dressed as Batman. And Ryan is like, okay, so show us what the story is with this. And she opens the Batcave, which is this big, massive. I mean, these are like, if you're growing up and you like Batman, maybe your parents get you the Bat motorcycle, the Bat bike, or the Bat wing, which is a bit smaller than the Batmobile, or maybe the Batmobile. But you're very seldom going to get the big thing, the actual Bat Cave, right? The big toy. So this is the big toy, but for whatever reason, right? They have filled this thing full of Lion King toys. See, in there you got Zazu, you got Scar, you got Simba. In the Batcave, right? It doesn't fit. It doesn't belong. They're not even in the same fucking franchise. They're not even in the same fucking, Disney universe, right? And then, but she's trying to be like, all right, well, look, you can put Zazu in the cave here, in this little cage here, even though it's clearly built for the Joker. And she's got her back to the audience. Look, she's obviously not an expert, like in the Bernie Delaney school of speech and drama, which I learned you never put your back to the audience. But look, she's a young kid. She's excited about playing with Batman. But Ryan is so preoccupied. He's like, shit, get this dog to work. It's a dog toy. Boku, or whatever his name is. Get Boku to work, and it won't work, right? And it won't work. The dog's not working. Someone didn't turn it on. Someone didn't tell anyone how to do it. Why isn't even just a helper there who turns it on and gives it to Ryan, right? Is it just, oh, well, we can't ever see the people? Get it to fucking work. Come on. Stop wasting everyone's time. Get the fucking dog to work. And Alana realizes this dog's not going to work. And she's dead right. She's like, look, this isn't going to work. The dog's not working. Let's move on. Let's stop wasting the time of 2 million people because someone didn't do the one job they had a year to pull off, right? So let's move on from this, and I'll show you this Bratz doll that blows fucking bubbles out of its mouth, right? So what you do is you get this Bratz doll. Maybe it's an LOL surprise doll. Either way, it's dressed like a slut. It's a little, and I hate to use that term, but come on, those Bratz dolls are especially the ones that are dressed as babies, are little sluts, and they do nothing other than just give young girls and young boys body dysmorphia and a desire for fucking fillers when they're only 5 years old, dressed scantily clad. Anyway, I've no issue with people wanting to get fillers, but you do not be promoting that shit to a kid, making them think that their gorgeous little faces are fucking the most beautiful thing in the world. Anyway, you feed this slut fairy liquid and it blows bubbles. That's another thing. So what's the kid going to do? Oh, I'll have a sip of that as well. I'll eat a Tide Pod while I'm at it. And of course, Alana thinks this is brilliant because it is brilliant. It's a fucking kid. It's a little baby that blows bubbles, and she holds it in the face of Ryan, blasts him with bubbles, and she's laughing her ass off. And guess who else is laughing? No one, because the fucking cadavers in the crowd are not giving this. The crowd davers are not giving this. They're stunned to silence. They're saying nothing. Ryan's not saying nothing. Even the band aren't saying nothing. Even the band, when the dog wasn't working, didn't decide to fill the void by, I don't know, take a bit of initiative and just start playing Who Let the Dogs Out. It's like the fucking FAI squad. It's like the fucking Irish squad getting up to the penalty box and everyone's like, oh, pass it, I don't want to shoot. Just someone have the fucking gumption to take control over this when something's not going well. They're silent, and Alana is the only one taking control here, and she's blasting Ryan in the face with bubbles because everything else was fucking shit. And Ryan can't handle it. She's an atomic energy, and he's not ready. He's not warmed up. They should have brought in a big, straight-up fucking nerd first, but they didn't. They brought in this little comic book girl who wanted to blast him in the face with bubbles, and he doesn't know what to do. And he just kind of leaves. He's like, okay, bye, Alana. He seems disappointed. And then he's kind of like incredulous that he's been blasted in the face with these bubbles. He hasn't made the connection with the kid, and he hasn't been able to feed off the audience yet. Everyone is just kind of fucking swimming with sharks at this point. It's not going very well. I give Alana 2 stars, right? And this is out of 5 stars. I like Alana. I think she's good. But look, you can only judge her based on the set piece she was given. I don't think we get to see her full potential. She could have easily been a 5-star kid if she was asked the right questions or if she was given something that actually worked. But given what we saw here today, she didn't play particularly well with the Batmobile. She fixated too much on the bubbles. I know she was trying to save the day, but we just didn't see her shine. 2 stars, Alana. Look, I like you, but it just wasn't your day. And then we have Lorcan, who is 4 years old. And Ryan makes a point of highlighting this is a 4-year-old boy, meaning that he is 2 years older than 2 years old. He is 1 year older than 3 years old. He's 3 years older than a 1-year-old baby. And what they do is they have a burger building competition. And they're trying to build the biggest burger. I couldn't quite figure out if this was real food or fake food. The whole purpose was they were going to make a mess. A lot of wasted food anyway. The lettuce and the tomato looked real. But Lorcan is not into doing anything other than spilling ketchup on a fucking burger. He gets the ketchup. He was told he was going to be allowed to squeeze the ketchup. He squeezes it on the burger bun. He squeezes it on the top of the burger bun. He squeezes it on the burger. Ryan is trying to fucking put reins on him. He's like, Lorcan. He's like getting real thick with him. Lorcan, stop. And Lorcan's not stopping. See, Lorcan, I don't know. Look, I don't know anything about his family, but he seems to me like someone who hasn't been allowed to engage in messy play, right? I allow my son to play and engage in messy play every morning. The fucking kitchen is like a hurricane of Rice Krispies hits every single morning, and I'm on my hands and knees cleaning it up every morning. But his dexterity is getting better, and he's not now fixated on just making a mess, right? So they do this burger building competition. The whole idea is they're going to stack them up really high. They're going to walk over to each other, see if they fall over. It's a good premise. It should work. It's the reason why people watch Bake Off when they have to bring the showstopper all the way up to the gingham altar at the end. People like seeing, precarious foods be walked and see if they fall, right? Anyway, Tubbs knocks his over, and then they get on to play with these microphones, right? There's 2 microphones. One of them has low battery. And he basically gets the microphone, it's working. The kid's microphone isn't working. Then he swaps the microphone with Lorcan, and then he realizes his isn't working. There's nothing he can do about it. He can't seem to get it work. He walks off the stage like some bad improv. Like he's like, I'm dead, and you never walk. He walks off the stage, leaving this kid standing there just squeezing ketchup onto the top of a burger bun. He just leaves the stage, and then he comes back on. He's like, oh, battery's low. And then he's like, Lorcan, stop with the ketchup. And then he just walks away from the kid. He doesn't even go like, Lorcan, ladies and gentlemen. He just goes, I just can't. He says, I just can't, to this kid, right? So now what we've had is Hakuna Matata with the big bollocks, yes, went fine, right? We've had all work, no play, absolute clanger. We've had, the Bears, which was a piece that no one got, understood. Was it cute? Was it funny? What was it? The ostrich didn't land. Alana was blowing bubbles in his face that he didn't seem to like. Lorcan was squeezing ketchup when he was meant to be singing in a microphone. Has this show gone completely off the rails? And as he's walking over to the other kid, his fucking mic pack falls out of his back pocket, and I jumped off the couch, and Terry was like, you need to chill out now. You're making me very anxious. And I was like, fine. So I sit down, I take a breath, and we're introduced to... Anyway, I give Lorcan, come back. You're going to be a star. This time, though, bro, seriously, I'm so done with this ketchup bit. 1 star. I like you. Again, I like him. But you're too young. Come back when you have the experience. All right? So anyway, after the mic fell out of his back pocket, after he gave up, essentially, he exited the scene with this kid. With some bad improv, and he walked off the scene. The cardinal sin. And he leaves Lorcan just still squeezing the ketchup, and he's like, I can't even do it. Just like, someone get rid of him. He's almost like Lorcan was problem child, or Dennis, not Dennis the Menace, but Dennis, and Ryan was Walter Matthau as Mr. Wilson. That's the kind of vibe. He really did a number on Ryan. Anyway, so then you think all's gone, right? The whole show's gone off the rails, and then we get Roisin. I'm like, oh, whatever, it can't get any worse. And Roisin is cool, she's calm, and she knows fucking everything about dinosaurs. Ryan is like, what's that? She goes, Agertodominus Rex. I'm like, what did you just say? She knows all the dino names. He goes, what's that? And she goes, Creelophosaurus. And the audience is even like, yeah, okay, and starts applauding. He goes, Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus Rex, Brontosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Stegosaurus. And Ryan looks like he's crying from the relief. He's laughing his ass off. It's been a complete title shift in the vibes. She should have been first. She's perfect. She's competent. She knew what she had to do. There was a level of spontaneity where he was throwing different animals or different dinosaurs, and she was getting all of them. Someone who was going to show up and know what they needed to do, rather than, look, with the greatest respect to the other two, they were a bit freewheeling, right? They were a bit freewheeling. I want to be as respectful as I can to the kids. Roisin was like, ask me, Ryan, look at me. Ask me anything about dinosaurs and I'll tell you. She should have been the first kid. Ryan could have got warmed up with that, and then you can throw some crazy kids. Next year, start with the nerd, and I mean that with the greatest respect, Roisin. Then they go on to do a new bit. They put on these massive dino hands, and they have to pick up tiny cakes. Come on, of course. That's the sort of perspective kind of fun that me as an adult will enjoy and a kid would enjoy. They have big dino claws. She's trying to pick up a tiny tea cake. It's going really well. It's fun. I might be grading on a curve because of the state of the other kids, but she got fucking 10 stars out of 5. I thought she was brilliant. Standout of the night was Roisin. If I'm rating realistically, I give her 4 out of 5. And that's only because maybe even a 4.5. No, 4. I give her 4. A 4.5 would be, I'll watch it again that year. 5 would be John Joe. I'll be watching it in 10 years' time, right? I hold a very high standard for these kids. Next up, you have DJ Callum and Jackson. This young fella, this little young fella, he's on the DJ decks. He's got hands out like Tiesto. They're going 90. This is an unreal dance number. There's ballroom dancers come out. Then there's Irish lads doing Irish dancing. His younger little brother Jackson is like his hype man. He's holding up a sign that says clap. Crowd's going mad. I tell you, he needs to walk into that sea of cadavers and bash that sign over the head with them. Get a bit of fucking life into them. Get up off that fucking parliamentary side of their arse. Get a bit of colour in their cheeks. Says Jackson. Needs to go over there and clatter those boys. Anyway, he's holding up the sign for too long. Callum, who's been such a good older brother, puts a bit of manners on him, tells him, put the fucking sign down now, you're alright. Jackson obeys. A ballerina comes out. They're throwing everything at this. It's expertly delivered. These two boys are from Finglas, but Callum's still dropping a bit of Gaeilge, right? And then he's asking, alright, Jackson, what is it you do? And Jackson goes, I'm a hype man, I get the crowd going, right? Well, he's 5 years old, right? Callum's 11, Jackson's 5, both of them from Finglas. He's like, all right, what do you do, Jackson, to get the fucking crowd going? What do you think? What's your brother say? He says he gets the crowd going. Everyone's like, yeah, because he does. And I tell you, it's just a shame that they didn't have him doing this full time, because he really could have done one over on the crowd. Anyway, so then they get chatting about everything. You know, there isn't necessarily a big sob story other than the fact that Callum's dad gets roasted for having an old MacBook. Sounds pretty alright to me, but anyway, he's getting roasted for it. So you're having to go on your dad's shitty old computer, is that right? Oh my God, is that he's supporting your dream, but he's got a shit computer. Oh, that's stuff real unfortunate. He's really let your whole family down. I felt bad for him. Like, I mean, having a man's tech slagged. Like, obviously he's tech efficient enough to know how to teach his son how to use DJ decks, and he's getting his tech roasted on national TV. But anyway, Ryan's trying to do something for him. He's like, all right, look, I know you want to be a DJ. I think, is there something I could do? Can I help you? and then Callum goes, I think you could. He's not doing the whole incredulous, what? I'm getting what? Katie Taylor, what? She's here. She's like, I think, can I help you? And Callum, I think you could. He's cool as a cucumber. He's only short of saying, pop your fucking love at the folk and gives a fucking bit arrogant, bro. Do you know what I mean? And then he finds out that because of, I think, One Sonic, or the Irish headphone brand, I actually have a pair of their wireless headphones that I got for free, and I do like them. I recommend them if you're looking for an affordable 50 quid pair of headphones. That's not sponsored whatsoever, but it's Irish headphone brand. I've never seen it before. Anyway, so they got a load of headphones up that. They got like a Pioneer turntable. They got a brand new MacBook Pro. Callum cannot believe his luck. He's crying. And he's rubbing his little brother's head because he's just still trying to be a good big brother to his little brother. It's so lovely and it's nice. And he's like, what does your little brother mean to you? And he goes, I just really love him. He's so funny, he says. These boys are a credit to their parents, like Roisin was a credit to hers. I was very impressed. These two boys and Roisin have saved the first third of this god-awful show. And they've done an alright job. I give them 3 stars. I give them a strong 3 stars. Right? I give Roisin 4. I give them a strong. I'll give Roisin 4. I give these boys 3 stars. Right? I won't watch it again, but they gave me a nice moment of the brotherly love thing that I really liked, and I hope to see them again soon. It'll be really fun to see them again down the line as a kind of Mark McCabe. But this, again, is where I think, look, they got all the sponsored work and everything like that, but, look, yeah, it doesn't need to be, Shane Lowry. It doesn't need to be, Dermot Kennedy. Like, why didn't they just bring out like 9 or 9? Why didn't they bring out just a DJ? Just be like, look, you're not familiar with this person. This person's a DJ. They DJ monthly in nightclubs, or weekly. They're going to teach you the best way to pick tracks. They're going to kind of give you. They just love that. They'd love to be like, you're a real DJ. Like, the audience doesn't even need to know who the DJ is. And I feel like was that the best? Was that the final best? Or was that just, they got my new bit of kit? Which is nice and it's good and he really appreciated it. But having someone be like, now I'm going to show you what to do with it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's the first bit done. And Alana and Lorcan, to be fair to them, need to be barred permanently from Montrose. Then we have Finn. Now, Finn is a Lego master. He was a chap. He's a chap who's recovering from cancer, and he had a really sweet story where not sweet, but I mean certainly very emotional story about him saying that he really got into Lego, and he's quite impressive with his Lego, but he got into Lego while he was recovering from cancer, and he was so weak that, and hooked up to machines that, he couldn't even hold up the little leaflet book for some of these small Lego sets to flip the pages. His mom had to flip the pages, and all he could do was kind of click the pieces together. It's so, like, it just shows how far he's come, that when he actually gets to do this next bit, what happens is he's in the ward that he was in, ceremoniously, when you're done with cancer, you ring this bell. That's what they say, done with cancer. You ring this bell. But because of COVID and everything, they didn't have the staff in there. They didn't have the nurses and doctors and everyone kind of, normally they give you kind of guard of honor. You walk down the end, you ring the bell and everyone cheers. So they bring out this bell so he can ceremoniously ring the bell for the people who weren't there, so that, the world essentially can see this. And it's a very sweet idea. They get the scope of how many people are watching here, right? But they still give you a fucking shoddy bell. It's a cheap bell, right? He's going to give it welly, and he does. And he fucking breaks the bell, which I think is so fucking badass. And I thought it was a nice... He's been so good to kind of represent his ailment and people who have that ailment, and he's been a real kind of ambassador for recovery for people, because he's done the whole, he tells the whole story about how he was weak and how he feels better now and how he got into Lego, and he's very obviously serious about this, and he knows that he has to be kind of take it very serious, but then when he's ringing the bell, he's laughing his ass off. He breaks the bell. Shows how fucking strong he is now, He couldn't hold the Lego pages. Now he's breaking bells on live TV. I thought it was great. So I love to see a little break of that where he's like being serious, but he's able to have a bit of fun and realize, oh shit, I'm breaking the fucking bell. And then I thought was funny is Ryan is all like, so you like Lego? Would you like to go to Denmark? Finn like shrugs, but I don't fucking know why. What's in Denmark? I know there's hot people and cool lamps, but what else? And he goes, oh no, there's Legoland there. He's like, all right, cool, yeah, grand. And he seems cool and grateful with the whole thing, He's a good kid. It's nice to see that kind of representation. I know there's a lot of kids who might be in hospital who will see that and be able to relate to that, and I think that's important. I give him 3 stars. I give him 3 stars. I give him a good 3 stars. I think he did great, right? I don't want to have to defend my stance. I don't dislike the guy. I think he did great, but I'm giving him 3 stars. I think that's adequate. Look, you don't realize the level that I'm holding up these iconic children for, right? If you have Rock is the Best Medicine, that's maybe a 4. Do you know what I mean? John Joe's a 5. The kid saying, are you having a good time, Neil? So that's the sort of caliber I'm dealing with here. But I thought it was sweet, But again, it was not like a Lego master to come. Well, actually, no, he did say they're going to teach you Lego. So that's fine. Then Ryan does a bit of an anti-fast fashion bit, and I understand it, but he's basically revealed that he's massacred Nanny Pat's jumper. Remember Nanny Pat and her lovely grandson? Don't remember his name. He's a 5er. He's a 4.5 for that kid. Anyway, but he reveals that he's after massacring Nanny Pat's jumper that Nanny Pat made for him to make this new jumper. But he's making this kind of stance being like, oh, you don't need to do fast fashion. You can actually just get all your old jumpers and then go into a fucking costume department in RTE and have someone make it for you. It doesn't make any fucking sense. I get the anti-fast fashion bit and reusing, but, what was anyone supposed to do with that? So anyway, then he's moving on to Abigail from Galway. I think she's from Galway. She's definitely from out west anyway. Is she? I think she's from Galway. Anyway, she's a fashionista. So she stands there. She's standing there in a hero pose. She's got sunglasses on. She's got a fur jacket on. She's got a big smile. And then Finn comes back to give Ryan a pin, which is, to be fair, Ryan wasn't happy about it. Do you know what I mean? He was like, oh, great, I'll take the pin. Thanks. I'll cherish that very much. He, gives it to someone for safekeeping. And then Finn goes off. So Abigail now from Galway has been standing here for a while. All right? It was going to go from Finn to Abigail for a while anyway. Now it has. It's even taken a break so Finn could give a pin, and there's no camera on Abigail. There's no camera to be in the position to see what Abigail's going to do, which is very clear. There's a Barbie. There's a bucket of water that's Perspex. It's a mermaid Barbie. Obviously, the colors are going to change, and no one's there. So there's a cameraman who kind of encroaches and kind of because a bit flustered and kind of like it's not a camera on wheels. It's kind of like he's kind of like on his honkers, kind of like walking towards, and it's kind of like it reminds me of like the scene from like the start of the original Halloween, where like POV of like young Michael Myers when he's killing people in the gaff. Like it's proper like POV creep, and I mean that was fun. but I don't think that's what was intended. But anyway, she's having a good laugh at Ryan, who is also now wearing a fur jacket and also wearing sunglasses. And he goes, she goes, why did you take my style? And then, and he's like, all right, I'm sorry. He kind of says, I'm sorry. He's not doing very good yes-anding with it. And then he says, what do you think of Dublin? And she goes, I can't handle the traffic. And I tell you, these women out west, driving at that age, they're just made of more, these women. I tell you, we're mollycoddled, us Easterns, right? I was very impressed with that, her driving. So then they are talking a bit about fashion, a little bit. Well, it's more about how Barbies can change their clothes. There isn't even like a showcase of like, you know, body positive Barbies or anything like that. There's a sewing machine that she looks at. She doesn't do anything with. They play some game where they have things in a sock, like a dice and a ball, and they have to spin a wheel to decide what to take out of a sock. And they had, I'm just counting it up here, 365 days to come up with that. And to be fair, it looks like an okay enough game. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing it, you know, in a gaff with the lads or something like that, or maybe even with the family on Christmas Day. But Ryan's even cheating. He's cheating because he's getting her to spin the wheel, and he already has his hand on the sock. And then she doesn't get at him. She just leaves. She leaves, you know? Like, you know, DJ Jackson had like an old computer, but he had a computer. He sounded pretty good when he was playing them tunes. You know, she doesn't get at him. She doesn't get like a visit from like Simone Russia. She doesn't get like a trip to London to see some of the fashion houses. She doesn't get like Milan, you know? She's like, all right, see you later. Like, all right, bye. I'm going to drive home in my own car that I drove here in, you know. Now we go on to, I give Abigail, she had good personality. I give her 2.5 stars. I give her 2.5 stars. I didn't get, you know, look, I'm just saying. William is, look, I was giving kids 1 star. Actually, do you know what? Here, let's go back here. I gave 1 star to, hang on, I'm going back here. I gave 1 star to Lorca and I gave 1 star to Alana. I'm giving DJ Callum, I'll still give him 3. I enjoyed it. Of course, I'm giving Roisin 4. I'm giving Finn 3, right? And Abigail, I'm going to give 2.5. I'm going to give 2.5, right? That's just what I'm giving you. Now we get up to William. Anyway, William is, he owns 6 cows. He's playing a game. He's playing a literal, it's almost like it's an analogy for the show. I don't know if you know that the word shambles is the name for a cattle mart. And he's literally playing a real life cattle mart, and it's a proper shambles. It's he has owned 6 cows of his own, so he does a bit of the old auctioneering and all that sort of stuff. They do this bit where Ryan has like all these teddies lined up, and one of them is the Miggledy Giggle stall that my friend Stevie made for Crumlin. Some of the profits go towards Crumlin. So I was like, hey, DiCaprio, pointing at the screen, you know, I know that toy. I know the fella who makes that toy. And he got a good bit of TV time on this. But he's basically pretending like he's 4 people trying to buy cattle. And then William is trying to be like, all right, 3001, 3002, 3, 4, do I have 4,000, you know? And it's silent while he's doing this. Like, he's like 3-1. And Ryan's like, oh, 3-2. Okay, 3-2. Like, the band aren't playing, you know, like, money, 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 or anything like that. The audience are really, really letting the side down. They're meant to be creating an atmosphere of an actual shambles here. They're meant to be creating, like, a real cattle mart, being like, rah, 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 throwing money. Can't hear a fucking word out of them. They let the side down big time. But the mart actually looks quite fun. I wouldn't mind playing with a bunch of miniature cows, but it wasn't very good. I'd give him 1 star. William, he seemed like a fun guy. He seemed like he could be a 4-star kid, but you're a 4-star kid in a 1-star set piece, bro. With the greatest respect, I like you, but you didn't show up on the day. Next up was they sang Can You Feel the Love? And there was a montage of kids who were unfortunately having to celebrate Christmas in hospitals. And the singers were great. All the singers were really good. There was even this kind of weird kind of spoken word bit in the middle, which you honestly can't slag because I was fucking pissed in tears the whole time. Genuinely, you know, very, very moving. There's poor kids who were just like smiling, and they're so resilient. And honestly, it was just, you know, it's very moving. But I did think last year though, when they had the kids, they incorporated that into the live element of the show rather than the montage. I think I might have preferred all the different screens with the kids on stage. So they're essentially part of the dance number. They're up there. They're out, you know. I don't know why they went back to the kind of montage video. Maybe because it looked like it was kind of shot by parents, so maybe they had to. But I did think when they had the kind of blinding lights TikTok dance with the kids last year, I don't know, it seemed like it was more involved, more energy. But is that fucking petty for me? That's even fucking petty. I'm just saying. It still was obviously very moving because I was incredibly moved by it. Anyway, next up we have Una Walsh with a harp. Now, Una is an fucking unreal harp player, but she has this story where she said she was only diagnosed hard of hearing when she was 10, and she actually went undiagnosed until that point. She lip read to pass a hearing test in senior infants, and I saw a tweet. Well, Michael Fry retweeted a tweet from someone who was saying about how after that show, this woman was chatting to a kid who had a hearing aid and was like, did you see that there was another girl had a hearing aid on the Late Late Show? And they were just beaming with just this pride that they were, that there was someone else who had, the same thing that they do. And it was just showing the importance of representation, which, to be fair, this show always does and always delivers on, and still delivers on this year. You cannot fault that. I'm really just talking about the bits like the fucking ostrich and the bears and some of the games I played with the kids. I just don't think it's up to a year's worth. Anyway, but Una Walsh definitely was, and it was a great get. But I felt like I'm getting fucking serious and all this here, but I feel like with Una's story, it's the same way where a lot of women are undiagnosed with autism late, because they don't fully pass they're able to kind of go undetected even if they're tested early, and this is completely, it's hard of hearing, but Una obviously lip read, and because she's fucking smart and she's got initiative, and she thought, oh well, I need to pass this, and this is not to speculate. Obviously, her parents. She's a credit to her parents, as I keep saying, and I'm sure her parents are incredibly supportive. The fact that she's only recently diagnosed hard of hearing and can play the harp as expertly as she can, obviously very encouraging and very supportive of her talents. But thinking of kids who feel sometimes that they need to find a way, that the pressure might be on. This again might not be the case for her, but it kept making me thinking of poor kids who don't know that they can get something wrong, that maybe it's in their best interest sometimes to get something wrong, and they put so much pressure sometimes, and they get stressed, and they're like, how can I do this and how can I be normal, without maybe have been let know that it's okay, that it's okay not to get things totally right. By not getting things right, you can get a better assessment of where you are, and that's the purpose of some of these tests. I feel like a lot of tests when you're in school that are maybe in your best interest, you don't know, and you just want to get right, and I don't know if it's made very clear. The idea of a poor kid having to kind of fake that they don't have something and making life even harder for themselves so that they fit in. It's just a terrifying thing. I don't think this is Una's story, but anyway, she plays a song from The Greatest Showman. It's brilliant. She's fucking class. I give her 4 stars. I thought she was a class act, to be perfectly honest. I thought she was class. I think she was funny. I think she, she fantastic talent. She spoke about herself very well. I was impressed. Una Walsh, 4 stars. Then we get on to the cars, and I have to be honest, I was let down a little bit, right? I was let down. There wasn't some mad Batmobile, there wasn't some mad Aston Martin, there wasn't like a little Merc or anything like that. I was I was disappointed with the run. It's a staple. I'm not saying get rid of it. This is not on the same level of my disappointment with the overall show. But anyway, Jackson and Callum are back, and here come the cars. You get a kid coming out in a blue car. This fucker rocks up. He does a little handbrake turn, and he goes, yo, Miss Downing. Get a shout out to Miss Downing's class. And he speeds off. She's the only one who gets a shout out in the whole caravan of cars. Then 2 kids coming out on a bike. It's a fucking bike. Get rid. Boring. Kid comes out in a wheelchair, but it's because she broke her leg because she was supposed to be on the bike, so she goes by in a wheelchair. Then you have rollerblades as a kid comes out in a blue Vespa. Then this kid comes out on a skateboard, standing in the middle of the board like it's a diving board, like not standard or goofy footed or anything like that, with the one foot at the top of in the middle of the board. So someone was obviously like, right, can you skateboard? And her mom was like, yeah, you can, yeah. Shut the fuck up, yeah. And obviously the wheels go out from under her when she goes in. She couldn't skateboard. She couldn't stand down in the middle. She was like wheeled out there. We're like, of course she can fucking skateboard. Don't let us down. And then a young fella rocks up and sings Ave Maria in Italian. And DJ Callum is the biggest. This is the caliber of the Late Late, where his reaction probably stole the show, to be perfectly honest. He's trying to be nice, I think, and he's trying to be like, wow, I can't believe how good this guy's singing. And he's like, this face, and he's like, oh, wow. And his eyes are so wide, and he keeps kind of like elbowing his little brother, being like, wow, did you see that? But again, the cameraman is so fixated on him, like, zoom into the other kid or move to a different camera. Can you not see that Callum is upstaging this kid, even if he's not trying to do it on purpose? This Ave Maria kid, and the Ave Maria kid, it was very good, but I didn't like. I'm not mad on kids sounding like adults in opera. That doesn't. It's just a preference for me. If you like Britain's Got Talent, you probably get the gold buzzer or whatever like that, or Ireland's Got Talent. But for me, it'd be like, that's not my scene. You know what I mean? Like kids breakdancing. I feel like just give a kid a fucking sherbet lolly and they'll breakdance. Do you know what I mean? Everyone fucking breakdances if you give them a sugar. So next up we have two absolute sport raving loonies with Darcy and Poppy. They are two straight out of Coolock girls who love Katie Taylor, Kelly Harrington, Liverpool and Mo Salah. They got great voice. They got great dynamic as well. One's an introvert, one's an extrovert. One of them is just like, here, you fucking stand there and you just do that, and this is your favourite team and I'm your best friend. And the other one seems to be like, all right, that's class, that's good for me. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need a mate like that, being like, that's the team you support, this is who you like, this is how you wear your hair, you're going to be exactly like me. And, it's great. Anyway, so they play a game where they're kind of spiking a ball. And it's a game that someone actually, the makers actually messaged me, and they asked if I wanted to have one, and show it on Instagram, like a bit of SpawnCon. And I thought my wife would love it because she loves games like that. And I said it to her at the time, and she goes, where are we going to keep that? Where are we going to keep the net for that? And then she saw this, and she's like, oh, I love this game. We should really get it. And I'm like, you fucking turncoat. I told you this game was offered to me for free, and you had to go with me. And she was like, I don't remember that. Anyway, but Ryan doesn't give it a very good rating. I've seen people playing this in the park. It looks great. I don't have it in my possession, but it's kind of a spike. It's kind of like spiking a ball on a trampoline, and it bounces up, and you're kind of volleying it and stuff, and it looks, I don't know, it looks fun. But Ryan says, I give that game about 2 out of 10, just because he couldn't seem to get it right. I don't think that's a fairly good representation. It's a fucking toy show, Ryan, right? These people, this is the fucking industry these people live and die by, and you're just casually throwing in a fucking 2 out of 10. Anyway, Kelly Harrington comes out, and she is an inspiration. She makes these girls' day, and while Ryan's trying to talk to her about her being an inspiration and her winning medals, she's just, look, let's not talk about that now, let's talk about these kids. She's very humble. She's like, these girls are great. I know her sister. She's a great boxer. I love what yous are doing. I love that yous are so into sport. And then they're like, all right, will we play a shit game? Will we play a shit game? Kelly's like, of course I will, because I'm a legend like that. And she plays this game where they have to dress up each other while wearing boxing gloves, and that's the whole thing. But you know what? Well, actually, firstly, I thought it'd be really funny if, imagine Kelly puts on the gloves and her eyes just fucking go white, and she just goes full Killer Instinct mode, and she kicks the shit out of Ryan. They're like, no, Kelly. And she's like, I can't fucking stop until they taste blood. I can't stop until the gloves taste blood. You know what I mean? Because I'd say you probably have, a Pavlovian response to gloves. But anyway, the girls are winning, right? And how they win is by piling a load of coats on top of Darcy's head. Or maybe it's Poppy. But they do a game where they have to, out of a basin of clothes from the 70s or 80s and 90s, they have to put them on. They did this last year. I had originally written here, they only took a fucking year to come up with this idea, when they actually already did this idea. It obviously went down so well, where everyone was talking about it, because why would they ever include it again, that they thought to bring it back? So maybe I missed out on the most viral moment of 2020's toy show. I'm still need to be such a fucking Scrooge, but you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? 2 million people, one definite date. Do you know what I mean? I just don't understand how they can tolerate such mediocrity. Kelly's great. She makes the girls' day. She's a great get. She's a great guest, and she's wonderful. But she even says she's going to come to their school. She gives them Olympic vests. Even just seeing the Olympic vests was so much better than that NAF game where they're dressed up with the boxing. Just show us the gloves that she's wearing. Let her talk. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Then there's some bit where there's a scene in the Olympia where Find a Place to Feel Good. I'm not familiar with the song, but Tubbs is doing another musical number. It's so unnecessary. It's not even on location. I know he did a Singing in the Rain here, but if him learning those musical numbers are getting in the way of his timing with putting his hand up an ostrich's arse and getting in the way of him not being able to approve, good bits over mediocre bits, I think he needs to drop some of these musical numbers. Darth Vader, Pat Kenny came out in a Darth Vader suit and then just fucking got on with it. He came out in an elephant one year, just got on with it, right? Now, he was shy, but I think they might need to rein in. If the musical numbers are literally where all the information is stored, then that is not the safest place to be going into this show. That's all I'll say. And now what happened was, right? Now, look, to be fair, there is a good bit of the show. This one, young fella Paddy shows up, and Paddy's young fella with Down syndrome. He's a really good dancer. He's good crack. They go down a slide. He's really funny with it, He's totally, acting up to the cameras in the best possible way, and, they're doing a fun bit where he goes down the slide and he's encouraging Ryan to go down the slide. It's cute. I know it's not trying to be funny. It's fine. It passes the test, right? And he's also a bit of a hype man. He gets a bit of a buzz going with the crowd. Now, this is what fucking happened. This happened a couple of times, but this is when I couldn't get out of it, right? I was watching this on the RTE player. And the RTE player, whenever it would go to ads, would play 6 ads, right? And then after it would play 6 ads, it would go back into the show, and the show would have no sound every single time. So I would have to go out of it and go back in every single time, right? And then sometimes that would trigger another 6 ads after I was only clicked out because there was no sound, but anyway, that time it would work. This time, for whatever reason, I would click out of it, and I would go into it and there'd be no sound, and then I'd click out of it and I'd go back in. I'd have to watch the same 6 ads again, all with sound, and then there'd be no sound again. And for whatever reason, it had me in a fucking time loop of shite. The RTE player is a fucking... I actually can't complain about that anymore. I actually can't. I'll finish my sentence. Burden. It's a burden. And it actually shaped the enjoyment of the overall experience of this, that I had to watch it through the RT player. I'm never not watching it live again. Anyway, I loved David. David was a shark-obsessed kid. He collects teeth. He spends hundreds of quid. He had a megalodon tooth. That's the really big one. And he said his parents, before he could buy a shark tooth, he said his parents made him keep a picture of a shark tooth in his wallet for a year. Which I think, you're a credit to your parents, David. He does some shit with bath bombs. Look, I like what he's into, but he doesn't have the same fucking... graw. He doesn't have the same fucking burning passion that Roisin had, right? So I give him... Do you hear my voice? So I give him... I give him about a 2. I like what he's into. Didn't captivate me. He wouldn't be appearing on my best ofs, but I like him. And I think, I think in a more... They had a kid on one time last year who was... they did a kind of mastermind thing. Get him in to give us shark facts, Of course, the teeth look cool. Anyway, now we're on to the books. Now we got a couple of kids in here. We got a kid called Liam. He goes by the nickname Lil Sips. He's a rapper. He's a rap star. And he's been reading this rap journal and has a load of rapper words so he can learn rapper words. Like, for example, Baller, Biggie, and Blunts. He gives an example. And Ryan skips over Blunts and he says, "What's Biggie then?" Says Ryan. And Lil Sips is like, "I don't know." And it's a real, with the energy of, you're a first year in school being like, "Oh, you're into rap then, yeah? Yeah, all right, who's Biggie then?" You don't know who Biggie is. He really, really lets him have it, And Lil Sips says he doesn't know. Doesn't know anything about Biggie. Anyway, he does a bit of Lose Yourself. But while he's doing Lose Yourself, rather than just listen to him do his party piece and do Lose Yourself, they all put on backwards hats. Like hip-hop. Backwards hats and sunglasses, which is a 31-year-old reference to hip-hop, which is just hip-hop, that thing. Not the kind of, it's fucking everywhere, ubiquitous art form. It's the Sugar Hill Gang. Oh, cool, yeah. Put this backwards hat on. Then this other one, I don't remember what book she's talking about. She does a French horn. And look, she does brilliantly. But the French horn sucks. I'm sorry. She does great. And also Lil Sips, also does all right. He does. I mean, I don't know why he's doing Lose Yourself. I mean, Jesus, he's not heard anything else. I liked his whole thing. He says he had hiccups, and his ma said, "What you need to do is take little sips." And he's like, "I'm fucking Little Sips now." So I love the name Little Sips. I give him 2.5. I give him 2.5. French horn, I give 1 because I don't like the French horn. Look, you did great, but it's just not. Again, maybe Simon Cowell might hit that fucking straight to the final golden button, but not with me, pal. Kate loves Hamilton. Kate's another kid who loves Hamilton. She does a speech, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be... It's actually fucking brilliant. Here's some of the stuff she says. She says, happiness comes from within you. Follow your dreams, and you will sparkle when you need to. Fucking great job, Kate. I thought it was a brilliant speech. And it's all the sort of stuff that I personally have been preaching. We're very, very similarly minded. And I give Kate... Sorry, you can tell I'm petering out here. I totally... No, we've got a few more kids here. We're going to get out. We're going to get out here in good time, right? And I give Kate 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed the speech. I thought she did well, and I thought she knew a lot about Hamilton, and I like Hamilton. Then we have Isabella, and Isabella is just this fucking infectious enthusiasm. I don't mean to be swearing because she's so sweet. She's showing the kind of fidget toys that she has. She's an amputee, and Ryan very sweetly is like getting down on the ground to play with these toys with her. She says her mom is absolutely amazing. Her mom Claire was named Carer of the Year. Her auntie Mairead is so funny, and she's absolutely adorable. She has the adventure book from Up, and she has all these things that she'd love to do on her bucket list, like go to the Eiffel Tower. She loves art. And then Ryan is like, you're going to Paris. And she's like, what? Oh, thank you so much. And she's so appreciative. She's so sweet. She just like this ray of sunshine. She was great. I give her 4 stars. I thought she was brilliant. She loves art. They're going to the Louvre. She didn't seem to know where it was going. She's not faking incredulousness. She's not like, what's that? It's great. And she does, and she was brilliant. And she was very sweet, showing off, all the things that she wants to do. And she obviously has very high aspirations for herself. And I think it's great. Then you have the Toy Show Choir with the biggest star in the world, Ed Sheeran. Not that you'd know it, though, because the audience are fucking leaky faucet drip losers. You represent a nation. I'm so ashamed. I'm like, Ed, please. I actually really like you. Go to Croker, bro. Go to Croker. They'll give you the reception you need. Don't mind these lads in the masks. They just want to go home, right? Anyway, he comes on, and he's such a fucking nice dude. He's so nice. He's like, I'm so grateful to be here. He's got a kid now. He's like, Ryan, how are you? How are you getting on? You must love doing this. I love doing this. This is the first time I get to see the whole thing, We come back from the break. They're wearing stupid fucking glasses on. They have pencils on their noses. They're drawing each other. And there's 2 kids who are in the Toy Show Choir. And they actually, to be fair, drop a pretty fucking sick rap, the 2 of them. I'm not going to lie. It's a sort of rap that you might hear in a skate shop. You know what I mean? Like good hip-hop that you hear like in a skateboard shop. Not the stuff that you might pick up on like in HMV, You wouldn't know where to shop for this sort of stuff. But you might see it featured in like, some, anti-hero or girl kind of skate video. I keep talking about skateboarding. But you know what I mean? It was a fucking sick rap. And Ed is like, that's great. You're unreal. And he's like, he's such a fucking nice dude, and he's so calm and confident. I mean, not that he'd have any reason to be scared going on the toy show, but he's a big get, and he's happy to be there and be fucking around, He's the biggest star in the world. And he's a nice dude. Then he sings the song, yet they still finish the show with Circle of Life with the kids, which is fair, but they did just literally let go the biggest superstar in the world, Ed Sheeran, when he could have sang the song at the end. And I give the kids who rapped, I give them 2 stars. I don't think they were nice enough to Ed Sheeran. I don't think they were impressed enough by him. But look, I know this wasn't as fun. And maybe it's the mood that I was in. And maybe next year I can just take it at face value. But I do kind of think that everyone deserves better. I think the real life stories for some of these kids and these families deserve a better framing. I think everyone needs to be a little less, skittish about something going wrong and just get it fucking right. I think they need to come up with some new bits. I think they need to have more guests on. I think they need to have funny bits that parents and children can laugh at, that aren't just so bad that it's good, I think it's better than that. I think it's better than that. The Eurovision's better than that. We need to stop resting on our laurels that we can get away with it just being subpar. That's just the way I feel. I'm tired. It's now a few hours before this podcast goes out. But thank you very much for having me get to 100. I really appreciate your very kind support of this pod. I want to thank the sponsor of this week's pod, the Dublin Irish Whiskey. Go to the DLD.com, type in fucking raw, which is what my voice is right now, and you can get 10% off any and all whiskey over there on the DLD. If you like this pod, and you maybe want a happier version of this pod, this Friday I'm going to be ranking and reviewing the top 5 supermarkets in Ireland. I'm going into each of them with a fiver, seeing what I can get, telling you what the bargains are like, telling you what the shopping experience is like, and telling you what the products are like. And I'm going to be ranking the top 5 supermarkets in Ireland coming up on the Patreon this Friday. So if you like this pod and you would like to hear more of it, you can go over there, and for the equivalent of a price of a pint a month, you can listen to that, as well as the 70 other podcasts that you probably haven't heard yet. But if not, and you don't want any other podcasts, but you'd still love to throw a few quid, you can certainly do that as well over on the Patreon. If you've liked 100 episodes and you'd like to give something, you can certainly do so. I'm going to lie down now. I'm going to rest my voice, and I'm going to pray that maybe I can still get a job in RT at some point. Anyway, all the best. Bye-bye. It's only a shit show.